the norms of club fitting. For example, machines like the swing weight scale, machines like the deflection board for shaft flex, machines like the CPM meter for cycles per minute or frequency of the shaft, the EI machine for the bend profile of the shaft, the torque machine for the twisting of the shaft. All these machines, there are some flaws with them. Some of these machines have been made a very long time back. The swing weight scale, actually, I can prove it wrong completely if I wanted to. In fact, I have my own machine which now shows that two club heads or two clubs with different swing weights, one is lighter in the grip and the other is not. And that's purely because of the way the materials of the shaft are changing. So there is a scale to match that, because the player in his grip does not know the difference between one swing weight and the other. All he knows is whether the club feels lighter, whether it feels heavier, whether he feels more of the head or whether he feels more of the shaft. And this has been done for years and years that I've heard these things, and I've finally been able to understand why. I can prove that a D2 swing weight is going to feel heavier than a D6 swing weight, purely because of the kind of shaft that goes into it. And it can be measured, yes. So I have an innovation I call the grip load meter, which checks the pressure exactly where the player holds the club. And it's important to have a moving fulcrum for the balancing of the club. And hopefully innovations like this are going to be able to change the way the OEMs produce their golf clubs. The reason why the OEMs are not able to do it currently that way is because I guess there's only so much you can do with a production line. There's only so many options you can deliver to the player in a production line. And so the different specifications that they offer end up hitting the market, and then you pick one which is closest to working best for you. And usually the differences are only in the shaft, not in the lie angle, not in the balancing of the club head. It's usually the same sort of swing weights for everything within a generic array. And so you're basically just changing one variable, which is whether you're playing a stiff shaft or a regular shaft, or you're playing an extra stiff shaft. And that for me is like a hit and miss sort of method, or a trial and error based method, which it's not really going to yield great results. Let's always go back to the favorite club in the bag, and the favorite club in the bag is the most important thing, because it has physical characteristics which can be measured, and once you know what they are, it's easier to build from there, build the other clubs to that. And I've heard so many players say, I wish I could hit my driver like my 5 would, or the other way around, or I wish I could hit my 7-iron like I hit my 3-iron. My 3-iron is better than my 7-iron. Why should that be? It's such a difficult club to hit. And there are reasons for it. Those reasons just haven't been found yet, and they're unique to the player. So it needs to be documented. It needs to be measured. And unfortunately, the average golfer thinks he's very educated about the game, but he's not. And the average teacher feels he's very educated about golf clubs, which he's not, or she's not. And the average pro thinks he pretty much has it all figured out, unless it goes from winning to really missing cuts, which is just a couple of shots, or maybe 1 or 2 shots in stroke average, which can change your season entirely. So when the when the room at the top for performance is so tight, the gap is so small, or your game has to really clearly stand out from 140 odd players in a field, then you have to have everything working for you. And there are 4 parts to the game. One is off the tee, especially the driver and 3-wood. One is your irons and what you hit from the ground approaching the green. One is the wedges, which is one of the most important parts of the game, and everything you do with the wedges. And then lastly, the putting. And putting, of course, is the most important part of the game, purely because if you're making a 6-7 footer more often than the other player, you are going to shoot a better score than the other player.